What is the worst case of spoiled rotten that you've ever seen? A friend of mine saved up for an iPod when they first came out, literally saved for a year to get one. His mom took him and his sister to the mall so that he can purchase his. His sister started throwing a tantrum because she didn't have one now. Their mom got so fed up with her about it that she bought the sister one just to shut her up. I've been that brother. It really does kill you inside. A friend I went to high school with got a slightly smaller iPad Pro for his birthday. He really wanted the bigger one with more memory. He proceeds to put it on record and throw it off a roof in retaliation. His parents then buy him another iPad, the correct one, as he put it. I don't talk to him anymore because he was a condescending ass. My friend's dog. He used to barbecue a steak for the dog once or twice a week. Apparently, the dog didn't like it pan-fried. Seems like half of the dogs in existence are real assholes. The rest are no better. Dated a girl who was given a brand new car for her 16th birthday. She had it for less than a year before she crashed it. Her parents bought her a used car. She had it for about a year before crashing it. They bought her a third car, used, and then when her brother turned 16, she pitched a fit because he got a new car while she had to drive around her used car. So he ran her over, right? I'm from a rich area in Dallas, Texas, so I've seen some crap. I went back for a visit and my childhood best friend was complaining that her parents were only letting her go to New Zealand instead of Amsterdam. Again, her dad is a multimillionaire and both of her teenage brothers drive Teslas. My male best friend was complaining to me that he didn't get to go to prom in a Hummer limo, only a regular stretch. He looked like he was going to pass out when I told him that I missed prom in high school to work a night shift. Glad I don't know them anymore. Sounds like you're near Highland Park. My employer's two sons have everything paid for, so they never have to worry about the cost. They both have everything they want and need. One of them likes expensive shiny things, and he's always thrown fits until he got what he wanted, from what his dad told me. For Christmas, he wanted a $1,200 55-inch Samsung curved TV, even after his dad stated that his budget is $1,000 for each. He threw fits and got mad at his dad, and his dad, being the wimp that he is, apologized and ended up buying it for him anyway. The son is 21 years old. A $1,000 budget for Christmas? My brother and I are lucky if we get $100 between the both of us. My mom had cervical cancer a few years ago and had a full hysterectomy. She was out of work for a while, and my brother and I had to work more hours and basically help out with the majority of the bills and groceries. My then girlfriend at the time couldn't seem to understand why I wasn't willing to pay hundreds of dollars on a tux and prom stuff. She proceeded to ask me every day if we were going until I finally yelled at her and told her sarcastically that I was sorry that my mom had cancer and surgery to remove all of it, and that I was sorry I had to help out with paying bills. She finally shut up about it and cried to her friends, literally cried at the school that she went to, and told them she just didn't want to go. She totally left out the cancer part. I only learned that the other week, when one of the people she cried to got hired at my job and told me what she did. We later broke up because she cheated on me and she told everyone I hit her. I've never been in a fight in my life, and I'm afraid to hit anyone because I'm an asshole. I guess prom overrules helping my mom who had cancer. I hope your mom has overcome her cancer. Rather have a mom that loves you than one like that. She has, cancer-free for 4 years now. The ex has moved on to have 2 babies, and she's not even 22 yet. I dodged a bullet. I was on a school bus as a senior. As we stopped at a house, there was a dead dog by the road. The little girl getting off said to her friend who pointed it out, "Oh yeah, we got him this weekend. My dad will just get me another one, so it doesn't matter." Went to school with a girl who got a 2012 BMW and literally cried and cussed out her parents because she didn't get a 2015. Knew one girl who got a hot pink Hummer for her quinceañera. Since she still had a year before she could drive, she decided to keep the Hummer for no apparent reason and got a Mercedes Roadster when she turned 16. Knew another girl who got a Mercedes G-Wagon for her 16th. She crashed it a week later on purpose because her stepdad bought it as an attempt to buy her love, and she caught him cheating on her mom. I don't know if that's exactly worth it. I mean, the latter girl seems like she's the opposite of everybody else that has been described in this thread, so... Sister refuses to look for a job and as a result, moves back home. She uses my parents' vehicle to drive around with her boyfriend and go to parties and crap. One day, there's a family emergency and the car is not in the driveway for her to use. She throws a tantrum, trashes the house, and runs away with her boyfriend. By the way, my sister is 22 years old. Ran away. 22 years old. So she moved out? Nah, moved away implies she isn't going to be back in a few days. A friend of mine is married to a very, very rich man. Old coal money or something. No one in the family has to work. They all just live off of investments. Anyway, she was crying one day because her mother-in-law was threatening to cut her husband's allowance, and he might have to get a job. I want to know what these people do all day. I can understand not bothering with a 9 to 5 if you're filthy rich, but there are only so many Lambos to crash and so many expensive substances to absorb in one's lifetime. Charity and socializing, I suppose. I knew a guy who had a few homes his family owned, and he had no wife or kids or siblings. Some died tragically. He's not filthy rich, just comfortable, and he has to at best do some repairs and find good tenants, so he didn't really work. The tragedies killed his drive. He spent all his time reading and collecting books, and he bought so many off of Amazon that they just keep sending him books for free to review. I didn't know her personally, but I'm still friends with a guy who dated one of her friends. I heard this from him. We all went to a private, pretty expensive school in the US. The spoiled rotten girl got a degree in journalism and promptly moved to London to find a job. Her parents rented her an apartment and I assume paid for her life for about 2 years before she was forced to move back because she never looked for nor was employed while there. Once back in the States, she refused to live in her parents' house, citing she was a grown woman and how could this be expected of her. Her parents bought her an apartment in New York City. Last I heard, she still lives in that apartment without a job, but is or has moved because it's in crappy Brooklyn and not Manhattan. And my mom won't even buy me a gallon of milk. Sounds like you need a mom like the one in this story. This will probably get lost, but this is one of my favorite spoiled kid come-up-in stories ever. Had a friend, Don, who had 2 kids, a year apart in age. When his son turned 16, Don was ready to give him his pristine Volkswagen. Don really babied his cars, so this Jetta, though about 7 years old, was truly in like-new condition. A car that most normal 16-year-olds would be thrilled to have. I would have been thrilled to have it myself. So Don tells his son the plan, and his son goes, "Dad, I'm not driving that car. It's a 7-year-old Jetta. I need a new pickup truck." After taking a deep breath so he didn't throttle his son, Don simply said, "Well, then, I'll drive the Jetta for 1 more year and then give it to your sister when she's 16. If you want a new pickup truck, then you'll either have to ask your mother or buy one yourself." Now, Don and his kid's mother have been divorced for years, and through a series of bad choices, his ex-wife had barely 2 dimes to rub together. Don had gotten remarried to a woman who was very successful and wealthy as a business owner, so his son very mistakenly thought that Don and his current wife would foot the bill for whatever the son wanted. How very wrong he was. Fast forward a year, his daughter is very happily driving the Jetta, Don bought himself a brand new Mazda, his son has access to neither of them. In desperation, his son bought himself a crappy $800 beater just to get himself to and from work. Lesson learned, I hope. I applaud Don for sticking to his guns and teaching his kid not to be an entitled asshole at an early age. Good to see a story with some karma. In high school, 1987, this really pretty girl was about to turn 16, and her parents got her a full frame-up restored 65 Mustang. Wasn't what she wanted, so they got her a new Porsche 944. Not the only one at my school. It was customized with rims and upholstery and had her name embroidered on it. When she graduated, they got her a new Lexus sedan. Her father was a preacher at a small rural church. Her mom was a stay-at-home trophy wife. Still have no idea how they pulled that off. I just threw up a little at the thought of a beautiful stock 944 being defiled with crappy custom rims and crappy custom upholstery. No, the rims were actually nice. The car was that dark gray, and they were chrome rims with black accents. It looked pretty badass. Then you look inside and Deb was on everything with flowers. When I was 15, I was dating this girl that I had met at a coffee shop downtown. Her parents were loaded. Like home movie theater, wine cellar, live-in maid loaded. The girl got a brand new Lexus for her 16th birthday. It took her 4 times to pass her driving test. A week later, she totals the car, so they buy her another one. Her parents also flew her from California to London to go school clothes shopping. What the actual heck? Obviously, she stayed for more than just a couple of hours. Wow, my grandmother used to give me $20 for gas every weekend, and I was going to use that as an example of spoiled. Nah, that's just grandma love. I'm a grown woman with a career, husband, and child. Just yesterday, I was visiting my grandma and she gave me 20 bucks for gas. My grandmother used to make meals for me when I would go visit. She was a fantastic cook and literally made the best spaghetti sauce the world has ever known. I miss my grandmother and her cooking. I was in a Toys R Us in the 90s. This mother and daughter, who had to be around 12, were shopping. The girl asks if she can have a toy. The mother said, "No, we are here to get a gift for." The girl asked once or twice more, and the mom declined. The girl then said, "Screw you, mommy," and took off running. The mother chased her while the kid cursed her out. Eventually, it must have ended. I went to check out and the mother and daughter is behind me. The mother not only got the toy she wanted, but actually apologized. That was my cousin Zach, but when we left Toys R Us, his dad made him give the toy to Salvation Army. He cried and cried. I got yelled at for laughing. I liked that dad's style. I went on vacation for a week or two with a few friends. Came home and apparently one of my buddies left some raw ground beef in the backseat of his car, convertible with the top down, in his garage, and some flies got into it. The lump of meat was replaced with a slimy, wriggling mass of maggots. The entire backseat was also covered in the corpses of dead maggots as they crawled away from the meat in search of more food. That image is forever burned into my mind. You went in an entirely wrong direction, but your story was good. Upvote for you. In college, I knew a girl whose daddy was some big-shot banker or something. Made enough that the wife didn't have to work and 3 kids could go to expensive schools with little financial aid. This girl didn't have to work during college, had all of her supplies and lodging paid for by daddy, and got to fly home every time there was a 3-day weekend, all on her father's dime. I once had to borrow $10 from her to pay for some food when we went out to eat. I promised I would pay her back once I got my check next week. At the time, I worked for a cafe, and she seemed cool with it. Turns out she was not cool with it and promptly bashed me on her blog and told all of her friends, calling me a bad person and a thief because I borrowed $10, which I paid her back. I brought up the blog posts and she was very embarrassed. Last I heard of her, she's living in a daddy-paid Manhattan apartment, working part-time as a receptionist at a yoga studio. She started a new blog about the struggle. Was at the Ford dealership getting my oil changed and killing time by walking through the big showroom. There was a Mustang GT350 sitting in the middle with a huge bow on it, and folks are gathered around waiting for someone. Minutes later, the family comes in with their son, who immediately yells about wanting it in blue instead of black, and denting the passenger door with a swift kick. This one bothers me the most so far. That little bastard would find himself in boarding school. I'll bet the salesman's jaws were on the floor. The salesman probably just had a smirk on their face. Some probably even rolled their eyes at the little crap. Once you've sold cars, very few things that customers do surprise you anymore. Source: sold cars. A girl in my high school had totaled 4 cars by the time she graduated on account of crashing 2, flipping one onto someone's lawn, and accidentally running someone else's car completely over. I know that there are some seriously bad drivers out there, but 4 totaled cars sounds like it's a cry for help. I'm so bad at driving. I think I need a chauffeur. Okay, I've got one. My boyfriend's little half-sister, so her parents are real hippies, and live at least 40 minutes from the nearest town, which doesn't have much anyway. They live on an eco-friendly farmlet that her parents built from scratch. Since the age of, say, 10, she's now 16, and my boyfriend's sister has been a stealer of money. Started off by taking coins when she was babysitting for neighbors, eventually finding out where stashes of coins were kept, and then the neighbors found out and told her parents. They were mortified but didn't do much apart from telling her off and making her promise she wouldn't do it again. Little things like that happened and the same outcome. Then her granddad passed away and left a share of $1 million to her mother, which was used to upgrade the farm, buy more land, etc. She stole money from her dead granddad's wallet in his pocket when he was lying in the house dead when no one was looking. All she got was a bit of a tell-off. She never has to give the money back because she spends it first. Her parents just say work it off by doing chores. Now she's 16 and her latest crime has been stealing her mom's card to buy $800 of makeup online. Her parents took the makeup from her hoping to return it, but not before she replaced the makeup in the boxes with old bottles. They let her keep the makeup and still let her do all of her school camps, parties, etc. The last I heard, her parents started a B&B, made a couple grand only to have it disappear because she found out their internet banking passwords, transferred it to herself, and then spent it on food, friends, makeup, all in a weekend before they could find out. Her punishment? Working it off by doing chores. It makes me sick. I had to do chores for free. I'm still doing chores for free in my own house. My mouth hung open once I got the part where she stole money from a dead relative. What a piece of crap. For a girl's 16th birthday, she was given a brand new Mercedes and immediately broke down crying in front of all of us. There were about 20 of her guests. She was upset because she wanted a Porsche, not a Mercedes. I had to walk 3 miles home because I still didn't have a car. Do you know what I got for my 16th birthday? 2 baby goats, because they were free. I still don't have a driver's license or a car. I'm 26. To be honest, I'm 20 on my next birthday, and baby goats sounds like a good present to me. Me. My parents paid a lot of money so I could travel at a young age. By 18, I'd been on every continent but Antarctica. It was an amazing learning experience and helped me decide the type of person I wanted to be. Spoiled but not spoiled rotten. I'll take it though. Glad to see you got good parents though. For young kids. A kid whose mom catered to every whim he had and never wanted him to feel any bad feelings. She would make him separate dinners, buy him everything he asked for, fight with his teachers when they said he was misbehaving in class, that sort of thing. Anyway, one day I babysat him for her because she had a family emergency, and he asked me for a PB&J sandwich. I made it for him and he started crying and said, "This sandwich is different from the sandwich I have at home." 7 years old, and I wasn't using weird ingredients or anything. For teenagers, my cousin's parents paid for everything for him. Car, apartment, college, spending money. All he had to do was go to college and pass classes. This asshole dropped out of school because I would rather sleep all day and party. Lit a fire in his apartment that caused significant water damage from the sprinkler system and started being a drug dealer. A kid I used to watch decided that I didn't know how to cook because I mixed the peanut butter and jelly together on one slice of bread and then put the other slice on top. He wanted peanut butter on one slice and jelly on the other. He was a bit of an ass anyway, but making food was such a pain. In his defense, you're a freaking monster for doing this. Peanut butter goes on one slice, jam on the other. I'm a rebel, a loner. I'm breaking the rules. I know a multi-millionaire chick, maybe 95 million in net worth. She's a friend of my ex-wife. We hang out with her on a semi-regular basis. At any rate, one day, years ago, my kid is playing some Game Boy DS shareable game with her sons. It's a game that my kid has, her boys don't. They finally finish the game while the grown-ups are getting lit and eating way too much crab. One of her boys runs up to his room and asks, "Can we get this game? It's really fun." She says, "Oh, money's tight. Tell you what, put it on your Christmas list. That's only a couple of months away, okay?" "Okay." And with that, all the kids went downstairs to play whatever on whatever. I looked at her and said, "Money's tight?" She related the tale of how the kids have no idea that they have money. It was the way that she was raised. She didn't discover the money until she graduated from university. At first, she was mad because her college could have been so much easier with money. But a few months after graduation, she started thinking back on how pissed off she had been at the wealthy kids who had just bought their way out of every problem that came their way, and how disgusted she had been at the way that they lived their lives. She apologized to her dad and swore that she would raise her kids exactly the same way. She lives in a modest little house. Her boys wear sneakers until they destroy them. They will find out when they graduate college. That right there is bloody cool. Props to that chick. I went to school with a girl, let's call her Jess. Jess is pretty spoiled, but really not much more so than most of my peers at our private school. What set Jess over the edge was when she turned 16. She got a brand new Lexus from her folks. The license plate read, HRH Jess. HRH stands for Her Royal Highness. Her car kept getting keyed. She never understood why. That's screwed up though. You never screw with someone's car, that crap's low. There's no way to defend your poor car in the parking lot. My boyfriend's sister has skirted the line of spoiled rotten, but for now, she's just spoiled. She throws fits the moment school and work get a little too challenging for her, like full-on screaming temper tantrums. Whenever she feels overwhelmed, her mom will spend hours doing her research homework and writing her papers for her. I would actually report this to the school if it wouldn't be blatantly obvious who did it. Her mom is an educator and should know better. She once had her boyfriend drive 4 hours out and another 4 back to come pick her up during a family trip because she didn't have a space private enough to focus on her schoolwork, even though we were all sharing rooms and dealing with the lack of space equally. Her mom ended up doing that schoolwork for her. Her parents even offered to give her the master bedroom to herself, which would have had 2 of us sleeping on the floor. I should mention that this girl is 22 and in college. She does have a sales job, which she surprisingly is really good at, which is why I think she still has hope of being a productive adult. Congrats on her mom for going back to college and getting a degree. When my brother broke off one of the rearview mirrors of my father's nicest car 2 days before getting his license, driving illegally because he couldn't be bothered with the 5-minute walk to the store on a mild sunny day to get a can of soda, and then just put the car in the garage as if nothing happened, my parents bought him a brand new motorcycle so that he wouldn't be tempted to borrow the car anymore. I may have seen worse, but this was in my family, so. I went to a very expensive private school. Personally, I had a lot of scholarships going into it, where I wouldn't have to pay the $52K a year that they were humorously asking for. At the time, they had a very lax acceptance policy, but was considered a great school, which had the interesting result of attracting very rich kids who weren't interested in the school for its academics, but more for its parties and nightlife of the town or city it was in. In my dorm freshman year, there was a girl who was supposedly a descendant of the Versace SP family, or some sort. After seeing the money that she'd blow nonchalantly, I was inclined to believe it. Almost every weekend there'd be a knock on our door as she ran through the halls asking who was coming with her on a trip this weekend. She didn't mean her trip to the grocery store or even a trip home. She meant whatever trip she was planning around the world that weekend. Sometimes it was Paris, others it was Australia, Bali, wherever her little heart desired. She'd fly out to these exotic places for weekends, not 3-day weekends, not holiday breaks, just your average Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And she would be gobsmacked and sometimes insulted when, after a moment of stunned silence, you tell her that you couldn't possibly go with her to Paris for 3 days, let alone afford a last-minute ticket to Paris. She literally just couldn't comprehend that a normal person couldn't afford those things. Oh, she also lived in the dorms because she was a freshman and you couldn't live off campus as a freshman, but she really lived off campus in what I would later find out to be a $4,000 a month apartment by herself with a house cleaner who'd come every day. She was the most detached from reality person I've ever met, and of course, she was drop-dead gorgeous. She'll probably never experience a hard time in her entire life, or have to work a single day. Oh, I'm sure she's already experienced plenty. I work at a youth center. We got donated a ton of new computers from a major telecommunications company in the area, and one day, this little troll of a child is throwing a Rubik's Cube around and breaks a computer. His parents are made to pay for it, and he gets a PS4 for Christmas 3 weeks later. Why can't you hold him accountable for destruction of property? Is there some kind of loophole that they went through, or what? Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a story you'd like to share, feel free to do so down in the comment section below. Then be sure to like this video, subscribe, and make sure to stop by our channel to check out another amazing video.